start first. It looks like Maine's got some new stuff, and then John, you're in here as well. Alex, let's start with yours real first, because waiting list is super easy, and I would love to start the call with a win. So show us your project and let us know what you're working on.
You bet. Well, I hope it's a win.
Oh, let's see.
Let's have a look. So I'm just kind of putting the last stages on publishing out this gift bot thing I was working on. Basically, I want to sign up users to, sorry, can everyone see that? I didn't even.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Basically want users to sign up, add them to a wait list, and then I'll remove them. I feel like I'm almost there, but it was just had a few little bugs in it. So as soon as my computer unfreezes, I'll walk you through it. There we go. So I've got this, I've got two different things here. Basically, I've got a sign up for the wait list, and then I've got a little secret hidden pixel up here, which I had two different flows, but for some reason they're running the exact same flow on click, which I couldn't figure out why. But on sign up, they were, sorry, I'm freezing again here. I have like the full auth pattern signing up, and then we're adding to a wait list, which was doing here, and I could see them being added in here on a wait list. And thanks, Cora, I saw I need to click that, expand it, and then remove them from a wait list. My question is, when that happens, what triggers removing them from the wait list once I go through that?
Yeah, so when you go into the, I guess it's the edit form of that user, it opens into a light box, and at the top you'll see that button that says move off waitlist.
Yeah.
So when you click that, that immediately moves the user off the waitlist.
Right.
So essentially they could just go log in and then it'll work.
Okay.
But at the same time, when that happens, is it also triggers an email.
Yeah.
If you have it set up under the auth settings, and I think there's a category for move off waiting list, and then you have to click that link that says like email provider settings or something like that.
Okay.
It's not done through a flow, Alex. The system already knows when it does the off waiting list. It checks, hey, are there any email settings set up for this? If so, trigger that email to go out. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything else.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, it all happens server side.
So
Gotcha.
do you have those email settings set up?
Not in Bildr side. I do on SendGrid side. So, sorry, where would the email settings go in?
So not in the flow, because
Right.
it doesn't happen on the flow. You have to go to the auth settings. And in here, expand the end user sign up settings. And then right there where it says move off waitlists further down, there's that one there. Yeah.
Read the directions, eh? Okay.
Yeah. So it will trigger whatever you have here.
Okay.
So you just want to make sure that template ID matches the transactional template in SendGrid for the email that you want them to,
Yeah,
it'll just
exactly.
say something like, hey, congrats, you're off the wait list, you're ready to
So
log in.
I copied that right off
Click
the
here to go to the sign in, click here to sign in, and you can add a button that takes them to your sign in page.
Exactly. So I copied that info right off the template.
Yeah.
Let's see. So this is a signed up. Oh, sorry. I've got another one. So this is like the remove from waitlist email they should get. So I've got that template ID.
Yeah.
I can put in there. One quick question for you. When they click this button, am I actually filling this stuff in, or just literally copying that in and then it gets?
It's up to you. For this one, you're essentially just taking them to your site where they can log in, because it's not going to pass any authentication automatically. So on this one, it could technically just be static. Yeah.
So like just punch them to the domain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Like the sign-in page is
Yeah.
where I would take them directly.
Yeah. Okay. I think that should clear me up. Let me.
And just let me zoom out real quick. So
Yeah.
in Builder, it's got built-in authentication. That's what Alex is doing right now. So you have 3 different types of signups that you can do. You can have your project use a waiting list, and Builder handles all the auth for that. So you just create your sign up pages. When a user signs up, Builder checks your auth settings. If you're set to a wait list, it'll create the user with a status of on waiting list. There's another auth type that's also called verification email. This is like if you want them to go click a button that then verifies who they are before you let them sign in. So they can sign up and it creates them. If you have verification set as your auth type, when they sign up, it knows that's set. It'll set their user with a status of unverified. And then it also has a verification email that you send them. You set up and it sends them out. They click a link in that email and then it takes them and it verifies their account. That you do have to have a flow for the verification, whatever route you're taking them to verify in your app. And then once they go through that, Builder automatically sees they're going through the verification and it'll update their status to verified. And then you have immediate sign up where nothing happens. They just sign up and they're automatically a user with a status of verified. So those are the 3 different things that you go through, and you set up the emails in that area for specifically verification and waitlist. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I think that'll get me going. I need to debug the flow, but the rest is should be easy done. So thanks so much.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Excellent. If anyone has any questions left on that, please feel free to chat. And then Arlene, since it's your first time joining on the call today, I'd love to call you up and we can go over your questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. All right, let me share my screen here. Let me close that chat.
So what are you working on?
So I'm building an app. It will be eventually a DApp, but I'm just doing the regular way first. It's basically a digital ledger for homeowners, so they can keep all their repairs, upgrades, warranties, anything having to do with their house on a secure platform. And my problem right now is data collection. So been watching all the helpful videos. I'm pretty new to tech. So let me share my screen here. The desktop one.
I want that product. I think about that all the time, literally.
Oh, doing great, great.
Me
It's coming.
too. Arlene, you've got 2 customers already in your pipeline.
All right. It is coming. Once I get through this, it's going to help me out a lot.
It's a high learning curve, Arlene. So just so you know, whatever you're feeling is 100% normal when you get started in something like this. It's definitely a journey. So patience with yourself is a good thing to have.
Okay, great. Zoom may not be on the record. Okay, that's fine. My Mac is making me do things. I'm sorry. So I'm trying to.
No, that's okay. You might have to allow
Yeah, it might make
permission
you quit and come back in. We'll see.
Oh, really?
Sometimes
Okay.
it does, yeah.
Sometimes, not all the time, but him.
Because it's like, no, we don't want you to share your screen. Okay, there we go. Desktop one. Share. Can you guys see it?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm gonna get rid of that guy. And get rid of that guy. I'm just gonna move it out the way. Okay, all right. So far this is what I did. So I created a lightbox, and I have a multi-page form. So my lightbox works fine. The pages all work fine. My problem is when the user selects something and inputs data from their side, in my data collection, it's creating different records, even though I have it to where I have like create record in the beginning and then update record for each screen. It's still creating different records and it's not taking whatever the user is inputting. So my very first issue though, my first, let's see here. I have a select menu and I've been looking everywhere how to get this select menu to work. It works fine here. So I have functional building structure, you know, different options and they can choose one. But when you're actually in the form, everything just goes blank. And I have no idea why it's doing that.
That might be data binding, right, Dorian? It's
Yeah.
implicit. Yeah.
Because in the studio, it's just doing the static options. And then I did notice that it does have binding on it.
Mhm.
It's probably overriding it.
So take the binding off of it. Is that what?
Yeah, if you don't need it, what are you trying to add? Like the data binding is just trying to add the options to the select. So if they're just static, then you don't need data binding because they're just static.
There's also two types of data binding for select. There's a collection tab and a single field tab. So what he's talking about is the collection tab. If you're hard coding those options, you don't need to bind the collection tab at all, but you might want to bind the single value tab, which is a value. So it's kind of confusing, but we can look at it right now and clear it up for sure because it's
Yeah, that would help.
clear
out.
when you look at it. It's just confusing to talk
So
about.
Arlene, that drop down list there, is it always going to be the same or is anyone going to be adding to that?
No, this is the same and the user has to choose an option.
Okay,
Yep,
if it's
yeah.
going to be controlled by you and it's always the same, the easiest route would be static, right, guys?
Yeah,
Yeah,
which is already set up, it looks like. I
Yeah.
think if you click on that data purple tab up there,
Okay.
yeah.
and then, so it
Oh,
is
this
just
is
the
correct.
record.
You're
Yeah,
correct.
so that's correct.
Okay.
Because this is just setting the value for that specific record. There's nothing that occurs on page load that could be setting a value through a flow or action. Like on the left side, if you go to flows
Okay.
and then click on the page load action. I
I
just
put
want
a
to step
listener
through
there,
it.
so I didn't know if that was what my issues were before, to listen for a change.
That would only be if there's data, but we don't have any data set on that element. Or I mean, we have data, but just for the value, not for the options. Open the page binding, click on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing in there. Okay, so it's not on page load. Maybe just show us in the preview and we can see if we can capture what's happening there.
All right. Let me just look. Sorry. Zoom has little gadgets.
All the windows.
It's so annoying.
Okay, let me try to move that guy to my other screen. There we go.
This looks so great. Did you say you didn't have any web dev experience?
No, so my partner, my business, he has extensive UX UI design. So he designed everything and I've been learning Python and Solidity. And so I'm more so doing the back end. So he does all the front end for me. And then I'm coming back in doing the workflows and things like that and trying to get it to all work. So thank you. I will tell him that. So I have my Lightbox. I was like, yeah, I got that working.
Yeah.
And so when you first see the select menu, you see property records.
Yeah.
And you can see it here, but when you click on something, it disappears.
Oh, it's something on the
Okay.
change.
Yep.
Okay. Go back to the studio
Okay.
and show me what happens on the change event of that element.
Okay. So let's see here. Select menu.
Yeah, and go to the events.
Oh, I do that every time.
I'm
Sorry.
back.
My fingers swipe.
The
so
swipe.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that. It's so annoying. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. I ended up turning that off because I used to run into it all.
Oh, that's a good idea. I should do that. Because I'm like, it's like getting to a point. It's like, I
Yeah.
can't work like this. Let me zoom in. Okay. All right. So here,
Yeah, and then go to the events tab. And
I have it
then
on change.
yeah, so go click the little arrow to the right of that flow that's in there. It's running this. Oh, it's the data run binding, I guess, maybe.
Well, it could be that right
Oh,
there.
no,
setting-
it's
setting the
this.
select menu right there.
Yeah, it's this.
So it's the data run bindings?
Well, it doesn't need that.
Or
So
just
you
get rid of it?
you can remove that.
Okay.
And that element, like, what are you trying to do when they change that? Because right now what it's doing, it's just resetting the select with a static value of category.
Oh, I wanted to where they click, let's say roofing, then in my data collection, it goes to its category and it says roofing.
For
Like
that
it
record.
saves that value. I
It saves that
think, right?
value.
Got
Against
it.
that person.
Yeah, so you don't want to do an element set value. Instead, what needs to happen is we need to add an action called update record.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Because
one.
you've already created it at this point. Where,
Mhm.
okay, the data.
Well,
record
yeah,
is
it
already
starts
created?
here. So when they click add record, it'll start the create record. And then
Okay.
every page from there is update.
And when you mean when they add records, that happen when they click that submit button? Is that when it creates it?
It'll create the record from my prior dashboard.
Oh, okay. So you
That's
already
why I
have
created
the
with the light
record.
box and it pops
Okay,
up. and it
yeah,
should
yeah.
And
update.
that's working okay, Arlene? Like it's
Yeah.
creating? Okay, so now
It'll
it's
create the
really
record,
just,
but then it gives me new records on every screen. So I'm like,
gotcha.
how do I keep it on one
Yeah.
single record?
Got it,
You
got
can
it. So
call that too.
so that first element set value action, you can remove that. We don't need that at all. Because
Okay.
that's just trying to set the options on the select again. That's what's breaking, or actually it's setting the value, but category is not a value in that list. So that's why it
So it goes
trashes
blank.
it.
Oh, okay.
So this one, click on that.
Mhm.
And let's select the collection that we're saving these to.
Okay.
And the first thing we need to map is the ID because we need the context of the record that we're in.
Okay.
So select ID. I don't know where that ID is coming from. So let's just skip the value part. We'll come back to it. I just need to go see how you're creating the record.
Okay.
But click the plus map a field on the right side to add another field.
Okay.
And then in here for the select a field, pick the field where you're trying to store the category. I guess it's category.
Mhm.
And then the new value, move your mouse down. You see where it shows that text with the little arrow. Click that and change that to that first option there from element value.
Okay.
And then scroll down a bit and where it says select an element, click that menu. And then select the actual select. A lot of selects. Okay, so it won't work yet because we need to get the ID context. But can you show me, I'm assuming it happens in another page where you're creating the record.
Yeah. All right. So here is my dashboard. And when you click add record, that's where I did a workflow to create the record. That guy here.
So I see Bildr. Yeah, click that for me.
Okay. And I have it to add record for my data category. And then I just recopied it. So since my first page is what type of record are you adding? I put it as category. Is that wrong?
Yeah, because at this point, that form where you're trying to get the value from the select doesn't exist yet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, it does exist, but the user hasn't actually selected anything on it. So
Mhm.
we can actually change it a little bit. Like you don't have to create the record at this point.
Oh, so I can just take that out.
You can though. You can just
You
create
you
it blank
can.
too. It's your preference, you know,
Yeah.
but you don't, you can create the blank record and have it ready.
Mhm.
Or what I think Dorian was getting at is like when they actually make that first selection, you could just create the first record right there. And then you already
Okay.
have the category value. It's kind of like together.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. I didn't know where to kind of put it, if I should put it at the top and then categorize it that way, but yeah.
It
I'll
just
try
Personal
to-
preference really,
depends.
but yeah.
Yeah, there's one question to ask, like whether to determine where you need to create it. Like, so right now it's going to create a record every time they click whatever button opens that light box, right?
Mhm.
But if they close out of it, you already created the record, even if they did nothing, right? So the question is, do you always want to create a record every time they do that, even if they do nothing? because that's what will happen here. Like if somebody were to click add record, it opens the lightbox. And then
Mhm.
if they just close out of it, you now have an empty record essentially, right?
Yeah,
So it just depends. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong answer. It's just how do you want the data to look?
okay.
If you would prefer them to actually select something, and then when they click that submit button, then at that point you can create the record, because then now they actually selected something and they clicked the next button to proceed. So we know it's a real thing.
Well, let me ask you this. So let's come out of here. So when maybe it help if I just show you. So when they click on add record, here's the dashboard.
Mhm.
You get the first form, which is property records.
Yeah.
They can hit submit and they'll take them to the next part of the form. So then it's like, well, when did the repair happen? They put in the date, how much did it cost you? So towards the end of it, after they put in their address, they get an option to upload receipts or pictures. And then it says, do you have anything else? They have a yes or no. If they say no, then it's a repeating list that comes here.
Mhm.
And so they can see everything they input. And then if they're fine with everything looks, I have basically create the record. So my question is, is there a way to kind of temporarily hold the
Mhm.
inputs until I say, okay, finally, this is what you want?
Yeah,
and create
absolutely.
record?
Yeah, one way you can do it is using variables. You just set them into the root, because I think all those, as they're moving through each of those pages, those are independent pages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you would lose the context when you're moving between pages. So what I would do is every time they hit submit on one of those,
Mhm.
I would store a variable in the root with, the variable will probably be the name of the select or the field that they filled in, or fields if there's more than one, you just set multiples. And then on the last step, that would be the only place where you create a record. And
Mhm.
you're just grabbing all the values from the variables that you set in the root, because they're just temporary there.
Oh, okay. Okay. So.
And that would actually make it easier, because now you're not having to maintain the context of the record ID,
Mhm.
because it's just at the end, you just create it and then you don't even care about the ID at that point. It just creates a new record and then it's done.
Oh, okay. So
Arlene, I just want to check with you. Do you know what variables are?
I know what variables are. The root is where I'm confused. So when you say put it in the root, where is that?
So like, for example, go to that first, go here.
Okay.
And go to the submit, so we can just add it to that flow.
Okay.
And open that event. So on here, let's pretend we were going to change it to this method instead. Click on add action and then search for set variable. And scroll down, I think it's under the other category. Where is it? Right there. Yeah, add that one. So right here, there's the first option is the target. So in your context, I would throw that into the root so that you always have access to it.
Yeah,
So
like
it's
third one down from
the
the top.
third
At the
option.
very top.
Yeah.
But what's
Oh,
considered
I
the
see.
root, Dorian?
Root page. Okay. I
Yeah,
see.
so the root page is the root page. I don't know how to explain the
It's
root.
the page that gets loaded like with the URL route. So it's like
Oh,
whatever
okay.
your base page is, you can nest a bunch of other pages in and
Mhm.
load
Yeah.
pages into repeating lists. Whatever that first page that
root's the
loaded, like
root.
the base page, that's the root page. And it's
Okay.
actually really safe to set variables on there, because any page can set to the root, and any page can read variables from the root. And then you don't have to worry about where the pages are, because you can also set variables on individual pages and get really complex.
Yeah.
Simplifies it, put them all in the root,
Oh, that's great. Because
Yeah.
this is going to kind of be a
Yeah,
app.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. And the reason you wouldn't want to put it on the current page is because we're
Mhm.
actually when you're
Changing
moving between
pages.
the pages, we're replacing the previous, so we're actually trashing it.
Oh.
So when you remove a page, if you have variables on that current page, they're gone.
Yeah, that makes
Putting
sense.
them in the root will always be there unless you
So you
refresh the
refresh.
whole browser, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
in that case, they're starting all over, right?
Yeah.
So like for this one, you would just give it a unique variable name. And
Category.
yeah, that works.
Okay.
And then the value, you're gonna change the argument input instead of text is that first option.
Mhm.
And you're gonna pull it from the select on this page. So now that's correct.
So that's fine to leave it current.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
We'll do
find the select.
menu
Yeah.
and the value.
Essentially, all that's going to do now when they hit submit is it's going to set that variable. One thing you should do is move that variable to be the first thing,
Okay.
because I'm pretty sure what happens in here is it opens the other page.
Yeah.
And then put a wait to make sure that it sets the variable, then it can continue, because you don't want it to lose the page before it,
Right.
sets the variable. So you would essentially do that on all the submit buttons for all your pages. Just make sure to name the variables different things. So if they're the same, it's going to override the value.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm gonna pause this real quick, just based on time with the other questions that we have.
Okay.
Let's get Arlene with some stuff that she can do, and then that way she can jump back, or we can continue helping her with Discord. So what would be the next action items?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of cleanup looking at the flows. So like the
Mhm.
first thing I would do is go remove the create from the main dashboard. Then in here, you don't need any of those run bindings. I would remove them just so that they don't cause any issues on those forms.
Okay.
And then on each of the submit buttons, go add the variables that you're setting into the root
Yeah.
for
okay.
all the field, all the information you need to capture. Then on your last form, when they click that last button, when you actually want to save it, in there is where you'll move the create record.
Okay.
And you're just going to map all the fields to the fields in the database. But the value is you're gonna change the type from text to from variable.
Can
And
we do one real quick, Dorian?
yeah, if you go to the
Let's just-
last one where you want to create the record, we can just add it.
Okay.
That way she can kind of see how we do it on one, and she can just replicate it for mapping the others.
Okay.
Yeah, so on here, let's do a create record. And then this one, yeah, that one there. I'm not sure what that run flow does, but you probably want to do it first before any of those, just in case you're replacing the form.
Okay.
And yeah, target the collection we're trying to save to. And then the first field we'll map would be the category. And then the value to change that instead of from element higher up, we're going to change the type, go to from variable.
Oh, okay. Because I got to add
And
all the
then change the target, instead we're getting it from the root. So instead of current there, go to root. And then just make sure to enter the name that we named the variable, which
And I do that with every single page.
which every single field.
Okay.
So then
So,
here you would just
sorry.
put category.
Yeah.
So
you'll do it here?
It is case sensitive. I don't remember if it was caps or not, but you
Okay.
can go verify your variables. So then in here, you would then map another field.
Mhm.
You essentially want to map all the fields that we're trying to save to that record.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so then the next field would be that, and all the values are going to come from variable, from the
Right.
root.
And
So
then
no.
all from the root, right?
Well, you need to
Well-
change the type instead
Yeah,
of.
remember to change it from
Oh, that's
variable
right.
first always. I do that all the time where I set the wrong one. You just have to go back.
That's called an
from-
input argument. Or I'm sorry, that's called the from element value. It's hard to see because you don't really know you can change that sometimes.
The second
You want
option
the second one in the list.
From the
yeah.
variable.
from
Yeah.
variable,
Okay.
and
'Cause
then
you're getting
that-
it, the value from that root variable.
and
I
then that will be the name of whatever you named the variable on that one.
Okay. Yeah, I can go in and do that on my own to save for time purposes, but that makes sense. That helps a lot. And then so we do the build collection record. And then once all that is done, I still keep my run flow on page, but I don't need page bindings, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
you don't need that. There is one thing actually that I'm thinking about that we need to handle at
Mhm.
the end after you create the record. You probably also want to remove those variables that we added to the root. And well, I guess if they run through it, it's going to reset it. So I guess it's fine. You don't have to. Never mind. Ignore
It
that.
should clear automatically.
Yeah, it'll replace them because even if they don't select the value, clicking the button is still going to set it and it'll just be null, which is
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
And then this way I don't have to use the add to record value. This would make it more clean in my workflows, right?
Yeah, because it's just one save and you don't have to keep track of the record ID.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
by the way, that reminds me, the reason it was creating extra records every time when you were doing
Mhm.
update is because you didn't have an ID value set, most likely.
Mhm.
So if you do
Okay.
an update record, but you don't pass one of your mapping fields. If one of those fields is not ID, it's going to assume ID equals 0, which tells Builder make a new record.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
little gotcha. So anytime you update, you're going to want to pass that ID basically. Which
Okay,
we're
Always
going to actually
map
make
the
that a
ID.
bit easier in the future. It's a little like obscure right now.
okay. Okay, no problem. No, that helps me a whole lot. And like I said, that was where I was stuck in my app. But otherwise I love the platform. I came from Bubble. So
Nice.
but Builder gives me more flexibility with UX design. So that's why we came over here, and you can take your coding with you if you ever want to, make it more proprietary later on.
Cool,
So
yeah.
that's why we came over to Builder, and we really like it. We like it a lot.
Awesome.
Nice. Thank you.
Great. Are you in the Discord, Arlene?
I am in the Discord, and that's been helping me a lot too. But I was like, I still can't quite find
Yeah.
anybody who has my
Yes.
exact situation. So
That's what this time is for.
Mhm.
Great. All right. Yay. Well, thank you so much for letting us help you, Arlene. I appreciate it. And I'm glad you were able to come on your first call.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm going to hop out of here. But you guys are great. Thank you so much. I
All
appreciate it.
right. Have a good one.
You too.
So
Bye.
let's call up Maine. She's got to be somewhere in less than an hour. So we'll try and run through. And then I just want to check with the guys real quick if we've got a little bit more time. Maybe we could go over today because it does look like we've got some more people that ask some questions. So if we can go a little bit longer, that would be great. If not, then we can just continue in Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. So let me see here. I
Arlene,
think
I'm sorry.
sharing your screen, Arlene. I don't know if I can stop that or not. How do I?
You should be able to, I believe.
Let me see. Advanced sharing options.
I'll explain my situation maybe meanwhile.
Yeah.
So I have a Mixpanel question. I have managed to connect it and it works on identify. So it sees the users, but the events wouldn't work. And I don't know why. So basically, if you see on the Mixpanel, I have my users. When they sign up, it sends the information, so that's fine. But if I want to set an event, let's say just a click event on this action, it just doesn't work, and I don't know where to. Oh, there is an error I see in the console. And then Drew told me to go find something, and I never found it. So
It's the custom properties, I think. Yeah, you just need to, I think, type a space or go back to the studio. If you're not going to send custom property, it's actually a bug when you use a JSON object and you actually don't fill it out. It tries to build the object, but because everything is null, it literally just repeats null. So if you're not going to use custom properties, higher than that, you see where it says JSON object, just change that to you can't.
I have actually tried to just put like something like this.
But it'll literally create that as a property, right, Drew, if she does it like that. I think we just need to add text to it, right?
I think we need to add text because the 1-1, when I originally looked at it, I think you had that 1-1 in it and it still wasn't working. It was like something weird. And I felt like it was coming from that JSON object too. I just wasn't really sure. I didn't fully know. But we can add the ability to make it text, set it blank,
Yeah.
And then it'll fix it.
Yeah.
If that's the issue.
Yeah, I think so. Let's do that. So go back to the studio and this time click on the project name at the top left. We'll come back to this in a second and go to actions and then just search for Mixpanel.
So for anyone who isn't sure what's happening,
Open that.
you're gonna go and add something to the action. They're gonna update the action.
And then scroll down to the arguments and open custom properties. It's the second one, yeah. And on here, scroll down and see right there, go a little bit higher.
Go back up a little bit.
Right there under static values, check text. And then you can change the default if you want so that anytime you add one, it just defaults to text, but it's up to you. If you do, scroll further down and keep going further down. And right there where it says default, just select text and then click close. It's not going to update any of your existing ones, but going forward, when you add new ones, I believe it should default to that, but close that and then close the list. And then now click on, click that and then select text. And then
I'll type a space, click off, and then backspace just in case.
just to trigger the save. Yeah.
Just to make sure that that value saves.
Oh, sorry, what do you mean?
You just
Um,
basically did it.
yeah,
I just
I
like
did.
whenever I change something to text, I type space and then I click off so it saves. And then I go back in and delete the space. It's like a weird habit, but then I know that it sets it into the action. You probably
Okay,
need to do it.
is this Mixpanel? No. Okay, so it has probably worked. No. But there is no error, right?
Yeah, the error's no longer there. I'm actually not too sure how that action works. Drew, does that do a HTTP call or is it just all in JavaScript?
It's JavaScript. Like I don't think you'll see the
Oh,
HTTP.
okay,
But yeah, I was
we're
gonna
good.
say you should see it in here pretty quick.
Okay, so it's working. Okay.
Yeah, it's that
I'm
top
good.
one, but that's what it was. It's just because you weren't sending any real properties. It's something we need to handle on the Builder Studio set, but for now you can use that as a workaround.
Okay. All right, since we were so quick, I just have one general educational question. It's about API calls. I need to verify that my user is signed up and paying to let them access this page. And so I keep sending, like each time they load the page, I keep sending a request to Stripe so that they would tell me if it's an active user or not. Is this the correct way of doing it, or is there a more optimized version?
Like I would do two things there. Like, yes, I would definitely check if they're an active user, but I think you probably want to, in addition to that, make sure that is it a subscription or is it just like an invoice that they one-time payment?
A subscription.
It's a subscription. Yeah. Then in addition, after you verify that they are an active user, also check that the subscription is there. Because they could technically be a customer, but not have a valid subscription.
Okay.
Like if they cancel it or something.
Or
Yeah.
it's past due.
Yeah, I understand that part. That's what I'm currently doing. I'm just wondering
okay.
if I have to do that on each page load, or is there a better version of doing this?
It's kind of your call. Like you would technically want to go on each page load. You would technically want to check, but like realistically, I wouldn't do that. I might like set a little flag and check like only if it's the next day or something. Like you can make a system to check less frequently if you want, for sure. Just understanding that, you know, somebody could cancel and then come back and maybe get access for a little bit, but usually that's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
How can I do it with like daily checks or something? Because it's an extension and people keep closing and opening it. So like I'm really firing a lot of API calls.
Yeah.
I would just, you can do like a lot of different ways. It's like you can get creative, but what I would do is say you wanted to check every day, like once a day only, set a field on the user and create a new column on the user table called, you know, Stripe last checked. And then when you check Stripe, and you get a response, you set the date in there. So the next time they come back, instead of checking Stripe, you check that date. You say, if the date doesn't equal today, then check Stripe. If not, skip it. Something like that. Yeah, not just like off the top of my head. I mean, you might find other ways that make more sense in your app to check, but something like that would work.
Okay, I'll give it a thought, and if I don't find a solution, I'll come back next week then.
Yeah.
Thank
no
you
problem.
so much.
Thanks, Maine. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.
Jan, it's you. Come on.
Yeah, okay. So I have a Stripe issue, and actually it is in my live that project. So maybe we have to pause the recording. But
Oh,
we
yes,
can
I can do that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was, in case it was a question we needed to refer back to, I forgot.
Oh,
that.
okay. So
Sorry.
when you create a new user, you get the option to determine how long their session is valid for, an hour, a day, infinite. Couldn't see a way to change that. I've set them to infinite, and I wanted actually to reduce that. Can't you change that in the users tab, or?
Not per user, but it changes it for the entire app.
Oh, okay. So if I change it in the authentication page, it'll change it for them all.
It will, yeah. Yeah, I think later we'll need to definitely extend that so that we
That's
can
fine.
control it. But for now, it's overall after it's set.
That's perfect. That's all I need. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, thank you all so much for a great session, and we'll see you next week. Have a great day. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.